Welcome to another episode of the Reboot Chronicles, a no-holds-barred forum with global leaders, authors, entrepreneurs, and CEOs about how organizations stay focused on growth and innovation in unprecedented times. I'm your host, Dean Tobias, coming to you live from Reviv's North American headquarters in Chicago, and we would like to thank you for joining us from around the globe today. I'd like to welcome the CEO of P.F.Chang's Damola Adamolekun to the Reboot Chronicles. The company has seen its fair share of reboots and restructuring over the years, going from private to a public and back to a private enterprise, and coming out of all these market challenges over the last few years in a position of global strength with over 300 restaurants in 24 countries and about 20,000 people who deliver over $1 billion in annual revenue. Over the last 4 years, Damola has been rebooting his, what I think of as one of America's favorite restaurant concepts, into a more dynamic brand and building massive consumer loyalty while accelerating growth. So it's a great story. And Damola, it's great to see you.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me, Dean.
I love the iconic Chinese horse in the background. I'm not sure if I'm calling it the right thing, but I'm always amazed when I show up on it.
You're right. My office is got all the key items and insignia for P.F.Chang's, which the first horse was in our first restaurant in 30 years ago, and we've kept a lot of the branding that people are familiar with and associate with P.F.Chang. So I'm glad you appreciate that.
I do. Every time I roll up to one of your restaurants, I'm always overwhelmed by the size of the great white warrior horse. It's usually white, right?
Yeah, the new ones, we remodeled our restaurants, and we'll get into that. But when we remodeled a restaurant with the new designs, we also painted the horse gold, black, and red, which matches the interior of the restaurant. So it's almost like a signal. Our restaurants that have gone through the brand refresh remodel, which is now 80% of the fleet. So you'll see a lot of gold, black, and red horses out there today, where they used to be the simple white.
Right. So we're jumping into unpacking your strategy already, but I just remember your first big expansion, at least in the U.S., decades ago. And it just was your core values or value proposition, probably is a better word was, you're honoring this 2,000-year-old tradition, this Asian wok cooking. I just thought that was amazing. And unlike some restaurants, always making food from scratch. Is that still where you guys are in terms of a value prop?
Yeah, that's right. So we're, we've maintained that heritage, the made from scratch quality Chinese cuisine. I'd say we've broadened to be more Pan-Asian. Where maybe 60% of the menu is Chinese, where it used to be close to 100%. So we've broadened a bit, but the focus on fresh ingredients, the focus on made from scratch, everything's made in our restaurants, is all still intact. Then I'd say we've gone back to the roots in terms of something we had in the beginning that might have gotten lost along the way, which is a focus on the experience part of it, right? So the ambiance, the lighting, the music, the entertainment factor when you go out to eat. It's more than just a good meal; it's a good time, right? And that's something we've focused on rebuilding since we took over 4 years ago.
And what other types of changes have you made over the last few years in terms of the footprint, the ambiance, the music? It sounds like I need to get into one. So is that the way they're all going? I think you just opened a flagship in New York recently.
That's right.
What's that like?
Yeah, the vision when we bought the business in 2019, in the first quarter of 2019, was.
And this would be the private equity group that bought the
exactly.
company.
And so I led the deal on their behalf. And then eventually came over as CEO about a year later. But initially, when we bought the deal, part of the thesis around it was to revamp the dining experience, which involved, some of the things you just mentioned, right? So, investing in the actual physical infrastructure, making the restaurants, look and feel exciting. The red, gold, black color scheme that we implemented, the music, right? The lighting, making it more of a fun feel. Right before I did the deal, I took the firm that I worked at. I took the team to Tao in New York, right, in the meatpacking district.
Nice.
And Tao's a wonderful restaurant; it has good food. But what really makes it fun is the experience, right? And the question is, can you take some of that and inject that sort of life into a brand that everybody knows and everybody loves, but really was known for food and and was lacking, we thought, the experience, which is really critical to, having an amazing dining experience, right? So that's been the number one focus of ours. And as I mentioned a moment ago, we've remodeled about 80% of the restaurants in our fleet to this point. And we've done things with the menu to make it more interesting. The food all made from scratch, high quality, but also now it's theatrical, right? So, you have certain things like, for example, dumplings used to come out on a simple white plate. Now it comes out on a hot stone plate, drizzle soy sauce on it. The whole thing starts to sizzle, and it's fun, right? People take photos, they post it on Instagram, and they kind of ask questions about it. So it's the whole experience. It's comprehensive, and that was our number one focus. We can talk about some of the other things we worked on, but number one is the guest experience and making that as exciting as possible, and that's where I think we've had our greatest success.
We've had a lot of big brands on the program over the years, and everyone from Walmart to a Unilever to a Walgreens, CVS, you name it, everybody. And this has all been the year, or maybe even the decade, since its early 20s here, mid 20s, about the experience. But what I've noticed is, you took a management team to crazy funky Chinese place in New York that's all about the experience. Like, when they come back to trying to replicate that in mass market, whether it's like green brands or healthy food or whatever, it falls apart at scale sometimes. And it seems like you've cracked that. How do you maintain that across 300 restaurants in 24 countries?
Well, it's a great question. There's things you can do in 100%. There's things you can do in one restaurant in New York that you can't do in 300 across the world or 200 across the U.S. Exactly. So, the key really is, and first of all, it's an iterative process. So you're rarely going to get it right on your first go, right? So we tested and we modified and made adjustments. But the most important thing you can do is have your operators involved from the very beginning, right? So this can't just be an idea from ownership. We had to get the ops team involved. Our COO, Art Kilmer, who's fantastic, and his team. And they, have a very good eye for the things that are going to cause issues at scale. Are you going to be able to get the supplies that you need from a supply chain perspective? Are you going to have issues with execution? Certain theatrical elements are just too complicated to do. And maybe your best waiters can do it, but you're going to have your average waiter struggle. So it's incorporating the operational side of things from the very beginning. So you have these big ideas, and maybe some of them you rein in a little bit because they're too operationally difficult, but you end up with something that's impactful and execution and that can be executed, across 300 restaurants, which is what we have now, right? And it's not just the U.S. We've got partners in all over the world that have implemented brand refresh, whether that's in Dubai. I was just at the Dubai Mall, and the restaurant at the bottom is now a flagship with our newest designs and elements of our brand refresh. Mexico City, even Almaty in Kazakhstan. So, all over the U.S. and all over the world, we've rolled it out and had a lot of success because we focused on the operations in addition to the impact.
Yeah, people like Chuck E. Cheese and all the way up to Disney, they've figured out it's not just about the food; it's about the experience and the entertainment. But in your case, it's about both.
About both. It's about both.
Because you got quality food. What about all these, all the health trends going on? Like, don't add salt and all this other stuff to my food. Please stop. How have you guys adapted to that? That and personalization. People kind of want what they want. They don't want something that's just right off the menu. They want to tweak it, whether they're buying something in retail or whether they're, eating it in a restaurant. They want to personalize things too.
Yeah, and again, that's something we have a good heritage in terms of we've always been able to personalize. We have a menu that can be adapted, depending on an individual's taste, right? So you can come in and substitute things and change things. We've always allowed that, that worked to our benefit. And then we have a broad menu, right? We have things for everybody, right? So for folks who don't eat meat, we have a lot of vegan options. We have salads. We have a big gluten-free menu, which is something we've been known for a long time. So we have a broadly appealing menu, and so it's a balance, right? Because you want to make sure that there's no veto vote, right? No customer can come in and say there's nothing for me here. But at the same time, most of our customers want delicious, savory foods, right? So you're not going to go to the extreme either and forget who your customer is. Right. So it's again, we're in a good place. When we bought the business, we liked the menu, we liked the quality of the food. So it wasn't something we had to start over or do a serious upheaval on. But it's tweaking, it's refining, it's making it more interesting, it's simplifying, dropping some of the things that maybe don't sell, maybe don't fit Asian cuisine, maybe don't need to be on the menu, to make it easier for the operators. And then adding theater, like I mentioned, which has been a big hit.
Yeah. And what about all the rage in this country and growing outside the U.S. is loyalty programs are they seem to have really perked up. You've talked about it a couple of times on a couple of networks. I think yours is called the Platinum loyalty program. You seem to have more traction than others. What's your secret sauce there?
In going forward, the connection to the individual brand is going to be more and more important, and I think that's what a lot of people are recognizing as they sort of take their decisions around investing in some of these programs. But we have a tremendous brand. We have a highly engaged guest. Our loyalty. We do have a loyalty program that is two tiers. We have a gold loyalty program, which is the free loyalty program, and earns points and various awards. And then we have a platinum loyalty program for our most engaged guests, which is a paid loyalty program, and you get free delivery, you get double the points, and priority seating when you come to our restaurants. You get on the tasting menu when we do tastings for things that aren't on the menu yet. You get invited to those. A special line to call if there's any issues. So you get a number of additional perks, and that's great for people who use this all the time, right? And say, right. I order delivery a couple times a month and free delivery that already pays for the subscription, right? Without even getting to the rest of the perks, right? So there's something for everybody there. But the idea is just to, if you love P.F.Chang's, you want to make it so that you're rewarded by visiting us more often, and you're encouraged to dine with us more, right? So that's the basic thought. But, we have over 5 million people in our loyalty programs combined. So it's a lot of people that have that engagement with us and have elected to join the loyalty program. So we drive that, and we learn a lot about our guests that way. We can cater to them more specifically based on their taste and their kind of feedback. And that's been a wonderful thing for us.
Yeah, smart. And we're recording this right around the Chinese New Year. That part of this calendar is a big deal for you guys, obviously, given your heritage and stuff. What does the Lunar New Year mean at P.F.Chang's? Am I going to get some cool stuff when I come in the next few weeks?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's something. I'm
getting hungry just talking about all this.
Yeah,
no,
it's great. It's great. We're gonna have a few things. We're gonna have a special cocktail. I'm revealing it early here, so first take here. But it's going to be a whiskey cocktail called Down the Rabbit Hole, which is going to be a wonderful drink that we've tasted. Year of the Rabbit, very fitting. It'll come with an augmented reality coaster that you before you get the drink, you'll be able to see a rabbit. that it's a lot of fun that we have with these drinks, right? So
I can think of a few more, like White Rabbit.
Exactly. So that's coming, and then we'll have also a push on loyalty. Where we're going to even improve the platinum rewards to go from 1.5 times points to 2 times. So you'll get 2x points on platinum. So it's a great time to sign up for people who use our brand. And we're excited to roll that out. And of course, the restaurants will be decorated to fit the Lunar New Year theme. And it's just a lot of fun. It's a great time to come to our restaurants and have an event or go on a date or have a birthday party, whatever the case may be, and we look forward to serving you guys.
Sounds fun. What? So you've been at this for 4 years or so. Let's look at what have been some of your beyond the COVID era that we all went through and still struggle with in some countries. What have been some of your biggest challenges coming into this? You weren't really a restaurant guy.
Yeah, I was a deal guy, so I led the deal, like I mentioned, and the circumstance called for me to step in the middle of COVID. That was 3 years ago now, so time does fly. But it's been we came in sort of in the middle of wartime, to be honest with you, right? It was the world was sort of ending. It was March 2020 when I took over as CEO, or April, and all our restaurants were closed by a decree of the various governments. And we had to kind of fight through that, right? So I came in a situation where, we really had to align and focus and get on the same page quickly. and make some quick decisions to get us through that period. The good news is something like that does bring everybody very close together. I think we have a very cohesive team, from a leadership all the way through our restaurants. We invested in people. We never stopped that. So there's trust that's been built through that crisis. And we were able to work through that and come out much stronger on the other side. The challenges now that we see are, it's kind of the hangover from COVID, but the macro situation is really a direct result of everything that happened during COVID and after, in terms of government stimulus, et cetera. So we're dealing with that now, just like every other company is, right? So you've got, record inflation earlier in the year that's come down a bit, but something we've had to contend with. Supply chains, something we've had to contend with. The labor market and the dislocation there. And what's to come in terms of where the economy goes from here, right? So it's been 3 years, but it's almost like dog years, right? It's so much has happened in the last 3 years that it's like we've gone through a couple full economic cycles, right? So it's been a challenge.
You definitely look much younger than
exactly.
I have to show some photos of you for the last 3 years. And your loyalty program plays right into that. In a soft economy in 23, 24, it's people look for places where they not just get the best deals, but can actually get some freebies.
Well, loyalty pays, right? There's value in being loyal, right? And so if you are already a loyal consumer, what we're offering is reward for that, right? And that's a positive thing. Yeah. And if you're on the fence, then it might tip some people over to becoming more of a loyal member because they get a benefit for that, right? So that's what the brands are seeing, and the direct relationship is very important. And knowing your consumer and being able to cater to your consumer is critical. So it's something we think is very important. We've invested in, and we're seeing a great result from.
So how does that, in your mind, how do you think about competition out there, other platforms and storefronts and restaurants that people can go to, including entertainment, but mostly food? So the actual companies, and then actually the competition in people's minds, which we've just kind of covered. But how do you think about competitions? Having been a serial CEO, I'm kind of hyper competitive, always worried about the competition. But at the end of the day, you're doing what you got to do, which is you're expanding the business pretty aggressively, or smartly is probably a better word. Maybe not.
Yeah, no, it's you want to be better than the competition out there. The unique thing that we have is the category we're in. Nobody does it at scale like we do, right? There's no kind of high end, chain restaurant that does sit down Asian cuisine, right? There's Panda, which is much lower on the scale in terms of the quality of the product, and it's not really a sit down experience. But there's nothing at our tier. So for us, I've always said the competition is ourselves, right? Like we need to be the best version of ourselves that we can be, and win over the guest, right? So, we do a lot of consumer tracking in terms of the perception of P.F.Chang's and, the food and the value and the experience and, everything else. But it's maximizing those metrics, right? Maximizing our social scores, which we just hit a record high in December in terms of what people are rating us on Yelp and Facebook and Google and everything else, right? So, we look at competing against ourselves, and as a result, we're, I think, delivering something that can't be found anywhere else, and is much more exciting than our would-be competition in terms of overall chain sit-down restaurants.
Yeah, that's good. And what when you look at growth and innovation, what's your dashboard look like from an innovator point of view? I guess both in terms of formats and geography, and your industry they're not as obsessed with the word innovation as, let's say, a CPG company might be, but I see a lot of it happening, and everything from quick serve to to fine dining. But how do you look at continuing your track record of growth and innovation over the next few years?
For us, it's try to be where the consumer is. So for innovation, for us, really has been broadening our reach in terms of the channels that we participate in, right? Because, we started as really just a sit down restaurant. And when we bought the business, there was still some aversion to some of these other channels like delivery and takeout and catering. And it happened, but almost by accident, right? It wasn't a focus. It was something that people had to deal with because it was there, and the DoorDash guys are going to show up either way, but not something that the business was really driving. And so we saw that as an opportunity. We needed to innovate to participate in these different channels that we should be in. We're the number one Chinese food brand in the country. We should, or sit down brand. We should have delivery, right? We should be we should have an app. We should have a way for people to engage with us if they don't want to come in the restaurant that evening. So we've done a ton of innovation in terms of evolving our capability, right? Whether that's technologically, right? So investing in creating an app and creating a website, technology in the restaurants to help manage deliveries and different aggregators, et cetera. Technology in the consumer, on the consumer side, whether it's tying in the loyalty program to delivery and being able to do free delivery and all these other things. So that's all new, right? When we bought the business, none of that existed, right? So that's been a big focus, thankfully, since before COVID. In 2019, we built a lot of the infrastructure, and that let us manage through when the pandemic hit. And then the other thing I'd say is, as we innovate in terms of product, it needs to fit what we're presenting to the guest, i.e., a high-end fun dining experience for a chain restaurant. So you look at some of the new items we rolled out in Q4 over the holidays. It's Wagyu steak, it's Cantonese lobster, it's duck spring rolls. It's unique high-end items that fit the ethos of what we're creating, which is Tao for everybody, right? A very fun experience for everybody that they can get a special dish. And so our innovation in terms of food has shifted that direction, right? So there's always room for growth. I think it's being observant of where the customer is. A lot more people order delivery and takeout. You got to be there. A lot more catering. You got to be there. And a desire for a special experience. And we can create that through innovation.
Yeah, those are the three good categories. So when you look at, your test kitchens must be a lot of fun, by the way.
They are.
Is that down in Scottsdale, or I'll have to come visit
absolutely,
that one?
Absolutely. Yeah, we do most of the testing in Scottsdale. That we'll roll things out in different markets. For example, we'll roll certain things out in the flagship markets that aren't in the rest of the restaurants to test them. But it's fun. Listen, our job is fun. It's hospitality. The basic purpose of our existence is to make people happy and show them a great time when they come to our restaurants. So you got to have fun while you do this. You got to be focused on growth and focused on the consumer. And that makes it more interesting and makes a better product and keeps our people happier in the restaurants themselves.
When you look at takeout and using your own app versus third-party aggregators, but let's just say your own app, do you see you as a big brand competing more with local mom and pops, specifically Chinese and Pan-Asian restaurants? Because most big chains don't. It's totally separate. In the consumer's mind, those are totally separate things. But I would get something different.
Yeah, I'd say for the most part, there's two categories. There's people who want Chinese and then decide what they want in terms of where they want to order from. But I'd say most people are looking for a meal and they decide, they might hop on the app and not be sure what exactly they're going to order, right? And then decide as they scroll through. So I'd say our competition generally is other high-end sit-down restaurants, whether that's in the restaurants or when people are ordering delivery. They'll typically look at us next to, a Houston's or a cheesecake or something like that. There are certainly people who want Chinese and then decide and go to the Chinese category and decide, right? And you want to win on both, right? So for people who are looking for, Chinese specifically, they can trust us that, we're at scale. They know who we are. They've been to our restaurants and we're very consistent in terms of the quality of the product. And I think that's where you win. Right, you won't be able to compete with the mom and pops on price because they tend to price very low. You'll be able to compete on.
They do all kinds of spiffs on open
on quality and consistency.
Yeah, exactly. But it seems like you're dabbling in both, which is fascinating. But when you do like a Chinese sort on even like Amazon, people will, and Uber Eats mostly, they'll tend to stick in the category, but the P.F.Changs will show up and they'll be like, no, that's not what I'm looking for. But I bet that association is going to change over time, especially your loyal customers. A lot of things you can do there. What about expansion plans? Maybe let's break that into two, kind of drill down U.S. versus global. Many of your, let's just call them competitors, but they're not head to head, or, they're looking more at global expansion these days.
Yeah, we're looking at both, right? So we're going to grow in the U.S. and we're going to grow abroad. We think there's a ton of white space. That was part of the thinking when we bought the company, is that there was a ton of space to first fix the product, which really meant fixing the experience in our minds, like I talked about. And once you fix the product and you have a product that works, then it becomes scalable, right? You can open them to higher projections on sales and profit. which creates a better ROI, a return on investment, which makes it easier to spend money to open a bunch of new restaurants, right?
Exactly.
So that's played out, right? Our core restaurants have improved in terms of productivity tremendously, which gives us a license to open more, right? And so we just had a year where we opened the most restaurants we've opened in the company's history domestically. And then abroad,
Yep.
I've spent a lot of time internationally with our head of international, and the excitement is palpable abroad as well, right? Our partners in the Middle East, our partners in Mexico and South America, our partners. We just signed a partner in Egypt. We just signed a partner in India, where we have no restaurants, and we think we could have close to 100. We just are close to signing a partner in the UK. So there's a ton of opportunity abroad that follows what we do domestically, because they have to buy into what we're doing and then believe they can export it to their regions. So, we're excited about that. We're just, I think, at the beginning of what this company can be, and we look forward to all the growth to come.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I asked. I mean, we look at, I teach this at Kellogg and work on it with companies. It's like expanding globally through partnerships. When you say partnerships, it brings up different things, but are you usually talking about franchises or something more dynamic?
It's franchises for the most part, right? So the basic arrangement is we have this brand and this product and this business that works really well in the United States, but
Right.
I don't know Egypt, and none of my team knows how to operate in Egypt, but the brand would work there.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
we find a partner in Egypt that knows how to operate, that knows how to hire, that knows how to find real estate, that knows the market, knows the consumer. And we partner and we bring them here. They train up on what we do. We train them how to run the P.F.Changs, how to, our brand, our culture. And they take it to Egypt and open restaurants on our behalf and pay a royalty and otherwise manage the business and own the business. Right. So it's a good arrangement because there's opportunity there, but we're not the right people to manage it. And there are people who should manage it, and we can train them on our brand, and that's a mutually beneficial arrangement.
Yeah. And I assume, like the industry, you're looking for partners that can do more than one location. Whereas in the old days, franchise management was a little different.
Yeah, no.
Now it's like, hey,
We want fewer partners that can open more, right? Otherwise, you're dealing 100
yeah,
partners each with one restaurant. I mean, that's tough, right?
you're going to kill you.
So we want we want one partner in India that can open 100 restaurants. That we deal with one big partner with capital, with experience, with other operations, and they kind of know what they're doing from an operational standpoint, and that protects the quality of your brand as well, right? Because they're experienced operators, they're less likely to make mistakes. So yeah, big partners.
Yeah.
That's kind of been our focus, and there's so many big markets we're not in that there's a lot of.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, India alone could double the size of your company, even more. And who knows about China?
Yeah,
It's an
exactly.
interesting mix there. So, really want to thank you for joining us today. I just would love to hear. You brought up a lot of stuff and challenges. Just love to hear any personal stories or challenges that you've been through that might be helpful for the audience. That a lot of people are stepping into new roles in 23, 24 here, and stepping up maybe sometimes in their first CEO, VP job. Entrepreneurs starting up companies in the food space, but yeah, just some any thoughts and words of wisdom for them or stories from you would be helpful.
Yeah, I think that two things, right? Number one, if you're entering a leadership position, I don't think it's ever you can ever overstate how important people and team are, right? It gets said a lot, but that's something that quickly became apparent to me is you can't succeed without a great team that's cohesive and aligned and focused on and looking in the same direction. Um, the good thing about me stepping in from ownership is I came in with ownership's vision, so there was total alignment between ownership and
Right.
myself when I took over as CEO. And the key then was getting the entire organization rowing in that same direction, and we did that quickly. And again, it was wartime, right? When it's wartime, these things happen more quickly, right? Because it's a
Total
lot of stress.
acceleration. Right. Exactly.
But even in peacetime, you need to do that, right? So so if you're entering a leadership position, focus on your people. Make sure you know them. Make sure they know you. There's got to be some vulnerability. There's got to be some level of trust that's developed, and make sure you're clear about what you expect from them, right? And let them contribute in terms of the building of the strategy, right? Because they know a lot, right? That you don't. So there needs to be some dialogue. And when they're bought in like that, when they are part of building the strategy and they're bought in, then they'll go take hills for you, right? Like that's kind of how it goes. They help come up with the plan. They know what it is. You're clear about what you expect. It's not changing every quarter. It's the same. And that's the number one thing you can do is just figure out people, strategy, alignment, and focus, right? Is the number one thing. On a personal level, what I'll say is that, whenever you take over as a CEO or whatever leadership of any sort of organization, there's going to be things you're good at that you've done, and there's going to be things you haven't done. If you're a marketer and you come in, you might not know any finance, right? I came in from a deal background. I knew finance very well and corporate management very well, but I hadn't been an operator. Now, what you can't do is shy away from the things you don't know. Right. That's a mistake a lot of people make. They say, I'm not an operator. I'm just going to get a guy and he runs the operations and I just listen to what he says. You're going to have to listen to what he says, but you need to be in there, right? You need to learn it. You need to spend time. The organization needs to see that you care about the things that really drive the business. So one of the best things I did when I took over was go out to the field. I visited all the restaurants, sat down with people, did sort of town halls. That is appreciated by the team is if you're not scared of the things you don't know, right? So another piece of advice is don't shy away from the things that there's going to be something that you haven't done before, right? No matter what you're stepping in from, no matter what background you're
many things, right? Yes, right. Yeah, that's amazing. Great words of wisdom. I probably couldn't have said it better myself. And we really want to thank you for that. You're probably going to get some. You're probably going to get some people reaching out to you, and I know you guys are hiring, so that's probably a good thing.
Okay, absolutely.
Yeah. Anyway, I appreciate it. You've been listening to Damola Adamolekun, and he is the CEO of P.F.Chang's. And thank you for joining us today. This is Dean Tobias with the Reboot Chronicles, and we will see you soon.